This year in Hypixel Skyblock a few things happened, and in this video I'll be covering most of them. They fixed the bug where regular bonzo masks and fragged bonzo masks had separate cooldowns, which allowed you to use them in quick succession. They fixed void glooms despawning after a dragon dies. Slime minions have been nerfed. The slimes from slime minions will no longer break down into smaller slimes. Slimes also travel north now for some reason. Knockback has finally been fixed. I mean true knockback. Before, things like F7 arrows, the Wither Lords, Bonzo, all of them would deal true knockback, meaning they would knock you back even if you had a Shelmet. But that has been fixed. They also fixed two anti-knockback items cancelling each other. The museum now counts modifiers as well by looking at the bazaar. Also, so our boy Barry got a small update. He now has particles around him. And if you talk to him, it plays some music. Now I don't know why, but this music scares me a lot.
Here's Barry.
The next news we have is that AFK methods got nerfed. Now not all methods, but those that used Witherborn to farm mobs. As if you go AFK, the Witherborn will stop working. The Wizard Tower update is finally here. No, not really, but we have a new design for the tower. We also have some new changes in the hub. The outside of the dark auction has been modified. There is a new NPC.
Who gives you coins for free?
Now for some really bad news. A YouTuber called The Original Ace has been hacked, and I genuinely feel bad for him. I hope he gets his channel back. The Skyblock menu has been changed. From this to this. Your trade menu has been moved to the recipe book menu. But fret not, as you can sell your items to the booster cookie menu. The 5 bags that were once here have been moved to a common location. Now to make this change bearable, they have added a few new commands, like /ab for the accessory bag, /fb for the fishing bag, /pb for the potion bag, and /quiv for the quiver. And they've been disabled. Thank you, Hypixel. They have also added /sacks for the sack of sacks. They have also moved the active effects menu to your Skyblock profile. You will also be able to see what you need to do to unlock something. Skyblock finally has some progression. You can check the guide menu for tasks, and completing those tasks gives you Skyblock XP. The tasks get more difficult the further you go, but the rewards get better. The cookie clicker game has been massively overhauled. It doesn't go away if you swap lobbies, and it now has a leaderboard. Yes, I clicked the cookie 1000 times to see the leaderboard. What of it?
Loser.
But the Hypixel public API was down, which caused the entire server to go into maintenance mode. And salvaging items was disabled. Thankfully both of them have been fixed. The garden update has finally been released to the main server. And there are a bunch of equipments, new farming tools, and armor. You also don't need to manually build farms now. Also, Deathstreak seems to be farming with a racing helmet.
Okay, so I asked Deathstreaks, and he said I asked him to elaborate, and he said
Also, the lantern helmet seems to be really good. There's also a new lore update, as new dungeon journals have been finally added to Skyblock. Now here are a few interesting things I found. Sadan is Storm's son. The Watcher was actually a human that was experimented upon. There's also a bit about the Wither King and something about dragons. There's also a new massive wipe. Refueling your drills in the Crystal Hollows, either by the drill mechanic or Abbey phone, will wipe your drill. You can still refuel in the Dwarven Mines, but don't do it in the Crystal Hollows. The gladiator that once stood tall beside the Colosseum now spends his days drinking away in Shifty's bar. The build height limit in the garden has been lowered from 50 to 10 blocks. This was done as vertical farms were too much for Hypixel's server. Also, AFKing in your island with Witherborn is no longer possible. There was a massive garden wipe that was wiping everyone's progress. But if you were affected by the wipe, the admins have stated that they will try and fix your profile. This is really important. My ping is really bad, so every time I try to farm pumpkins, it keeps lagging me back. So I need your help to fix it. If I can get YouTube rank, I can stop the lagbacks. So help me get YouTube rank so I can start farming pumpkins more efficiently. Garden XP rewards from visitors now scales depending on your garden level. Fire no longer ticks in the garden. Enchanted mushroom blocks now work with personal compactors. Farming talisman finally works in the garden. There was also an issue with the cultivating enchant, as it didn't give farming fortune for some reason, but that has been fixed. Also, the best update in my opinion, Jacob and Anita now spawn in the garden. The Spaceman NPC has been found and seems to ask for 1 billion of any crop, reduced to its highest enchanted form. Like 1 billion potatoes is 39,063 enchanted baked potatoes. Now you can't normally trade that many potatoes, as it can't fit in your inventory, but you can give the item in batches. And once you've spent more than 3 billion coins on it, you can get 100 copper. And a space helmet, which is cool I guess. Also the hex is back. Whoa. They also fixed a bunch of annoying garden bugs. Firstly, they fixed Tia the fairy in the garden, and now she'll sell you the soul of her sister for some food. They fixed the spaceman asking for way too many mushrooms, and probably the best update of them all, you can now disable plot holograms. They also fixed the cocoa chopper being used to clean plots AFK. You cannot shear sheep using a conjuring in dungeons. Why though? First of all, we have a bunch of new composter upgrades. Seeds will now be affected by farming fortune. All farming tools can now be sold on the AH. Farming tools can now only break crops and stems. Each garden plot unlocked will give you 3 farming fortune and 5 skyblock XP. There are also 2 new enchants, 3 new accessories, 5 new reforged stones, and 2 new pet items. The NPC sell price of a lot of items was changed, so you can actually make coins in the garden now. According to this spreadsheet, farming cactus can now make 23 mil per hour from the bazaar. Also, you don't need the chili pepper, sulfur and mycelium collection to spawn the builder NPC. The tank seismic wave ability can now explode crypts. Also, the seal of the family, crooked artifact and the shady ring are now soulbound. Also, Hypixel is about to hit their 10-year anniversary. The alpha server was opened recently, and there they have added something that completely breaks the game. You can now remove attributes from the Crimson Isles armor sets. Now the biggest change is, you can add attributes to items that don't come with attributes naturally, as long as the attribute is compatible with the item type. Hypixel had an event for its 10th anniversary, and the winners have been announced. There has been a massive bazaar update, and a lot of items have been added to the bazaar, including pet upgrades, dungeon items, and a bunch of more things. Also, sorrow can now be sold on the bazaar. Crops will now grow 10% faster per garden level. You also don't need light to grow crops now. Mushrooms will only spread on mycelium and podzol, and mycelium doesn't spread now. Crops will not grow on completely dry soil. Crops will grow 40% slower on soil that is not at full moisture. So if you want your crops to grow at max efficiency, make sure the soil is fully moist. We also have a few new changes to the garden presets. There's the new super flat preset, the melon and pumpkin presets have been buffed, the default mushroom preset now has more shrooms to grow, and the default cactus preset now has more rows. We also have a new trophy fish pity system. When you fish the same fish 100 times, you're guaranteed to get a gold tier fish. And when you fish the same fish 1,000 times, you are guaranteed a diamond tier fish. The Kudra mandible has been found. Once you've obtained all of the Kudra items, you will gain the ability to drop Kudra mandibles from burning tier or higher Kudra. The wither cloak's requirement has been fixed. It now requires floor 7 completion instead of catacombs level 7. The piggy bank now works from the accessory bag. Fishing XP will now be rewarded to the player who spawned the creature and not to the one who killed it. The admins have added a new rule. Simultaneously playing on multiple accounts at the same time, also referred to as multiboxing, will now be bannable. Next change we have is, bosses will no longer target summons, meaning you cannot use summons to skip the hits phase for void glooms, which is really annoying. Also, ferocity is bugging for some reason. There are two new methods using which you can easily one-shot void looms. Both of them involve using crimson armor, an atom split, and a soul's rebound. If you have a tactical insertion, you can use this method by Tekka. But if you don't have a tactical insertion, you should use this method by Groveman Dan.
So try again.
The admins have confirmed the Rift update with a flashy new trailer. The admins provided a few new screenshots of the new foraging island. Also, the new foraging island will have different trees with their own collection. And there's also gonna be a new axe mechanic called sweep. This will control how many logs an axe can break at once. For example, the jungle axe will have 9 sweep and the tree capitator will have 35 sweep. There will also be some trees resistant to the sweep effect. We'll also have some new creatures called critters on the foraging island. And it seems not all of them are going to be hostile. And you can capture, raise and combine them to gain passive abilities. The admins have also said that you won't have to worry about other people cutting trees before you do. In fact, you might prefer cutting trees with other players. Hypixel is also trying to upgrade to a higher version of Minecraft for Skyblock. According to the admins, 1.8 will still work, but some islands, including the foraging one and the fishing one, may not be accessible if you are playing on lower versions. Hypixel is also working on its own resource pack and a customized menu for Skyblock. We may also have a custom chat box for NPCs. RNG meter bug has been fixed. Before, the RNG meter would only reset after reaching the total amount of XP required to drop the item. So the players would set their RNG meter to a handle, then switch it to something else just before they can drop it. Then they drop the other item and then switch it back to the handle. And they'd have the 3x drop chance buff infinitely. Yeah, if you didn't know, higher RNG meter values means higher chance to drop the item. They fixed Venomous using damage modifiers in its poison ticks. So a nerf to melee once again. This week in Hypixel Skyblock, a few things happened. And in this video, I'll be covering most of them. After over a year, we finally have a new city project. This time we'll be contributing to repair the wizard portal. The admins have decided to make massive changes, and we can no longer use teleport pads and jump pads in the garden, meaning you can no longer fully AFK farming. Now because of this change, the elite Skyblock farmers were protesting in Hub 1 with slogans like bring back TP pads, free TP pads, safe farming, and lowballing 455 mil. This comment clearly explains how me and probably most of the Skyblock community feel about this. But there's also a really good change. You can now teleport between plots using the /TP to plot command. You can now choose if you want to consume bait when fishing. All of the katanas have been buffed. Now they'll deal 50% more damage to Endermen. Like the Vorpal katana has been buffed from 200% increased damage to Endermen to 250% increased damage to Endermen. The Wither Cloak has been changed and the creeper things are now client-sided. The admins have taken great steps to reduce inflation. Firstly, the NPC sell price of a few items has been nerfed. The drop rates for recombobulators on all floors has been increased, because of which the recombobulator prices have fallen by almost 30%. Also, the biggest change is that the drop rate for Necron's handles and Wither Scrolls have been buffed for both F7 and M7, because of which all of them have dropped by 12 to 13% in value. Now you might be asking why they didn't fall that much in value. Well, it's cause the prices have been buffed. Necron's handles now cost 100 mil from chests, and each of the scrolls now cost 50 mil. The recombobulator now costs 6 mil, and finally the Dark Claymore now costs 150 mil. Also, they have increased the tax for binning items. Crimson Armor's ghost damage has been patched, so you can no longer one-tap void, and somebody found a new method. The wizard portal contribution requirement has been lowered. The goal was originally 3 million contributions, but now it's been lowered to around 2.2 million. nothing. So it probably means the Rift update is ready to be released. A massive Minecraft YouTuber, Phoenix SC, recently talked about a massive rat wave. What happened was, a user created multiple accounts and spammed rats across mod websites like CurseForge. Hypixel is gonna be celebrating its 4-year anniversary with a bunch of new items, like the Dante ring and the sloth hat of celebration that will come in different designs and will not stack with the crab hats. Pets won't block you from placing blocks now. Hypixel is celebrating its 4th anniversary event. If anyone is wondering, I got the flushed one. Also, the shiny pigs are back. Some really annoying bugs have finally been fixed, like your potion effects sometimes bugging out in the Crimson Isles. They also fixed vanilla items being shown on the quick craft menu instead of the more expensive Hypixel items. If you craft a hunter talisman into a hunter ring, it will now keep the recombobulator. They fixed menus closing unintentionally when a dungeon starts. You can also requeue dungeons now. The wardrobe and backpack commands have received an upgrade, and you can now open specific pages like backpack page 3 or wardrobe page 2. The bin limit on uncommon items has finally been removed. The Rift update is out, but I'm not gonna bore you with what they added. Let's talk about a few Rift bugs. There was a Rift bug that allowed you to transfer non-Rift items into the Rift that caused some items to be deleted temporarily. Also, because of this, the Rift was closed, but it has been reopened now. Some items like the fantastic Choco Chip and Baba Blasters can be bought by using coins in the regular world, and you can give them to the moat grubber for 10k moats each, meaning you could easily turn your coins into moats, which was a massive problem, but the admins have fixed it. You will now spawn on different entrances if you die in the crystal hollows. Also, they nerfed stonking. You can still create ghost blocks, but you can no longer pass through them. The zombie pet will now buff all stats on undead armor and not just defense. And if you want to know what armor is undead, just check the item description. I finally tried the Rift update and I genuinely had fun. They added the /show command where you can show off your items and you can also see the upgrades the item has. It also shows you how much it is worth by comparing it to similar items in the auction house. But the best thing in my opinion is the trade thing, as unlike the regular trade menu that requires you to be close, this one works from anywhere in the map. The level colors have been changed. Here are the new colors corresponding to your Skyblock level. You can also add special symbols or emblems next to your name. Like if you want to get this emblem, you need to reach tank 50. There's a new talisman called the Book of Progression that is unlocked at Skyblock level 25. The book's rarity will go up with your Skyblock level, and it will gain new abilities like extra healing, less damage taken, or more damage dealt. You can view your stash like an actual ender chest now. Just use /view stash item to access your item stash and /view stash material to access your material stash. Also, you can sell your stash to the bazaar now. You can no longer trade more than 50 million coins per day if your Skyblock level is less than 50. Once you hit level 50, it caps out at 1 billion, and once you reach level 100, it caps out at 10 billion. They fixed the Wither Cloak consuming mana when taking friendly hits. The Replenish enchant now works when riding a pet. They finally fixed the bazaar, treating enchanted lava buckets as stackable. You can finally invite ex-members back to your co-op. You may have seen the experiment table bug where you drop 2 different Titanic XP bottles, but for some reason they don't match. Well, it's cause of a bug that creates duplicate items, but the admins have stated that they fixed it. Skyblock admin timedeo has auctioned a lemon. Also, One for All's requirement was finally fixed, and it requires enchanting 38 to use. Hypixel has also buffed fishing, and you have a little icon on top of the fishes. You could also achieve the same thing by using mods, but this is a step into the right direction in my opinion. The admins also added mob sharing for dungeons and Kudra parties. They also implemented kill credits for fishing. Now I don't know if my math is correct, but this change may have heavily nerfed ghosts. As before, you could get 189 magic find for ghosts, but the amount of magic find you can get now is much lower. lower. You can actually claim bestiary combat XP rewards now, instead of them being directly applied. You can also rejoin dungeons easily now. Let's say you accidentally quit or get disconnected from dungeons or Kudra. Back then you needed to get warped by a party member, but now you can simply rejoin Skyblock to rejoin the run. The Broodmother and the Key Guardian will now take a maximum of 5% of their health as damage per hit, meaning you need to click multiple times to farm these mobs. Minions no longer count towards the private island bestiary, meaning it's a huge nerf to the island bestiary because you need to make an actual mob grinder. You will also have 3 seconds of invulnerability after being revived in a dungeon run. I recently found a forum post talking about a wipe. Now this isn't a new wipe, but turns out they haven't patched the quiver wipe. Back in the day, your quiver would actually be placed in the top left corner of your inventory, and this was causing a massive wipe issue. But it was patched, and your quiver started replacing the Skyblock menu. But even right now, in certain conditions, your upper left item slot may still get replaced by a quiver. Now, I don't know how this bug actually triggers, but according to the Kudra Gang Discord, you should not hold a last breath when leaving the Kudra lobby, as it could wipe you. They also fixed the Midas staff blocking arrows. These creatures now despawn if the person who spawned them disconnects or leaves the lobby. They fixed the Midas staff again. The ability now works properly on carpets, so it's actually viable for the Sedan boss fight. You cannot solo dungeons now, it seems. Right now, for some reason, if you enter a dungeon run and all of your teammates disconnect, you cannot start the run. According to the logs, I think the admins may have had a miscommunication. They were trying to co-op soulbound the promising shovel that can be obtained from Rick's quest, but they accidentally co-op soulbound the promising pickaxe that can be obtained from the mine merchant. Mining has been greatly affected by this update, as bombs don't permanently break gems, glass blocks are less tough, and peons give more gemstones, meaning that's a massive buff to ruby mining. They have also buffed powder grinding, as you can now use the Great Explorer perk to instantly open chests now. There's also a new budget mining meta now. You can use a level 100 rare or higher B pad and gain plus 30 mining fortune, and you can combine it with the bejeweled collar to gain extra mining fortune and speed. This update also created the mythic armadillo, but it is unobtainable at the moment. Now it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the miners, because dillo mining has been nerfed, as the pet now loses more stamina depending on the block. The bazaar has received a massive overhaul, and it's a lot more organized now, with multiple separate sections, and it even shows you what items are present in each section. They have also added an option to blocklist items from being insta-sold. They also fixed the buy a stack button in the bazaar being inaccurate when buying products with a max size of 16, like ender pearls. They have also added solo dungeons to the main server. To unlock solo dungeons, you need to talk to adventurer Saul. Then he'll give you Saul's recommendations that you then give to Mort, and you're done, and you can now solo dungeons. Also, they've implemented the auto ready feature for dungeons and Kudra. So the mushroom cow's farming strength ability was nerfed, and it now scales from 1 to 0.7 farming fortune per level. Also, the elephant pet's strong efficiency perk was nerfed from 1.8 to 1.5 farming fortune per level, meaning it now caps at 150 farming fortune. And you also get this message when an item gets added to sacks. Also, potion effects are no longer removed on that. Also, the coins awarded for skill level ups have been greatly increased. You will now need Skyblock level 10 to participate in a bingo event. Fixed Inferno Minion's Apex Minion perk not working when offline. We had a raffle event this entire week, and it pushed Skyblock's server to its limits. So only ranked players were allowed to play Skyblock. And according to a guy on the forums, they waited in a 11,000 player long queue only to find out that they needed a rank to play Skyblock. So an F for this guy. Speaking of the raffle event, here's what I got from it. I got 2 party hats, 1 flying pig, 1 purple cherry box, and 1 cake counter. So yeah, nothing worth more than a few hundred K. Also, we've got the team leaderboards, where green was at the top and red was in second place. But then I asked my audience to prevent red from becoming second place, and they listened. And now red is in third place. Also, I'm not salty or anything, but I think this was rigged. Like green won on alpha, green won on main, and when I checked the forum post, green still won. The admins made another mistake. They accidentally created a literal money printer. How it worked is, first you needed to get the fruit bowl item. That gives you 250k coins if you click on 21 people with unique profile fruit names. So all you needed to do was create a party of 21 such people, and once you've done that, you could make infinite money. Also, there's a funny vid by V1DD where they attempted to do this method, but they got warned by timedeo. I'll link that vid in the description. So watch that vid once you're done watching this one. Speaking of melee weapons, there are 3 new ones, including the Bone Reaver, Fellhorn Reaper, and yeah, it's absolutely broken, as it can sometimes beat the giant sword in damage. I said sometimes, as for some reason my damage was all over the place. It also has an ability that deals arc damage. Now in my opinion, it's basically a scuff type with lesser range, but inside dungeons with full ancient Necron, I deal more damage compared to full necrotic storm. Also, 5-starring my gear was much easier this time, because you can now salvage multiple items at once, or choose to salvage all items of rare or epic rarity. They have also added new dungeon rooms. Here are some of them. There's an area with a bridge, no comment. There's also a slime area with a bouncy pad. Also, they have modified the teleport pad room a little bit. We also have 5 new equipments for dungeons, and it seems all of them scale based on your kata level, and they can be upgraded to give even more stats. They are the Shadow Assassin Cloak that gives you damage if you teleport, the Balloon Snake that gives you jump boost 2, the Adaptive Belt that allows you to gain different stats based on your class, the upgraded Adaptive Belt that gives you slightly more stats, the Bone Necklace that gives you a small defense buff, and buffs the tank's diversion ability by 15 blocks, and my personal favorite, the Soul Weaver gloves that makes mob go spin. In all seriousness, it stuns the mobs for 2 seconds and reduces their damage by 5%. The Spirit Shot Bow has been nerfed. Its firing speed has been decreased by almost 40%, from 0.5 seconds to 0.8 seconds. But we've got a buffed version, so it's not all bad. Bouncy arrows no longer work on decoys in dungeons. They nerfed it as some players were using this to cheese F7. Now how this bug worked was, you placed a decoy near the gold door tunnel, then you'd shoot gold door, then the arrow would bounce to the decoy, then bounce back to gold door. Basically, you'd get a substantial damage boost. Also, vitality and mending no longer scale in dungeons, meaning you can't gain insane healing with the Mender Crown. Master mode now gives 2 floor collection instead of 1. Also, holding right click now shoots your short bow a lot faster, and your short cooldown stat on your short bows now changes based on your attack speed. Burrs received a massive buff with extra range through the swing range stat that can be gained by using weapons and the burst level. Burrs also now has an AoE effect. While Burrs got extra range, there's a small issue. Ferocity will not work if the range thing is in effect. Also, the Bloodlust ability may have been nerfed, as your healing is now much lower compared to before, but you'll have more survivability, as you can gain extra defense through a new passive perk. Also, the Ragnarok ability has been buffed to give more attack speed, movement speed, and damage. Dupe Archer is not that bad now, as you can get plus 50% extra damage for not duping Archer instead of 100%. Healer was also buffed with a new perk that gives you an absorption shield if you are healed at full HP. At max healer level, the ability gives 40% of the player's HP as absorption, and if you are the sole healer, the bonus increases to 60%. And from the Wish ability, you can potentially get 80%. Also, the Mage Beam seems to have been buffed. The cooldown is now affected by attack speed. Also, the drop-off point is much farther and the hit reg is higher. Also, the range is increased during M7 Dragon Phase. base. Dungeon items at base tier will now give a 10% stat boost, making them better than non-dungeonized items. Also, the cleavers have been buffed. Also, you can now get the following items if you beat F3 and don't need Catacombs 16. And you can get these items if you beat floor 6 and don't need Catacombs 28. Also, all the dragon armor dungeonization requirements have been heavily nerfed. They heavily reduced the mob HP of entrance, F1 and F2 mobs. So this should make dungeons easier for newer players. Dungeon talismans will now give double MP while in dungeons. You now have a short period of invulnerability when teleporting to someone using spirit leaps. You can now get 4 extra accessory bag slots from the redstone miner guy. You also no longer have a cooldown when resetting your Art of the Mountain tree. The tactical insertion and soul whip have been nerfed because people were using them to one-tap bosses. The Sedan Giant in F6 and M6 now spawns faster. You don't have to listen to Necron to collect your F3 chest now. Storm's idle time will now be reduced based on the number of wither skeletons you kill. Also, the blood room teleportation thing is much faster now, and you don't have to wait for the respawning skeletons to get your keys. And finally, you can no longer blow up the Midas crypt and run away. So last week, the admins made it so that Soul Eater only procs on crit hits, which is a buff, right? Well, no. Because now it doesn't scale based on your crit damage, meaning it's been heavily nerfed. Also, for some people, Soul Eater was completely bugged and didn't give the buff at all. Now I tested it with a Soul Eater 3 Pelthorn Reaper, and it seems it has been fixed, but the damage is really minuscule. After the recent dungeon update, dungeons was literally unplayable as they had queues for some reason. Like people had to literally wait to play F4. But yeah, the bug has been fixed. Last week we talked about how the admins destroyed Soul Eater and it no longer working with crit damage. Well, that has been fixed. Also, Mage Beam deals damage to fairies now. Inferno minions running hypergolic tier fuel will now drop 2 times more vertexes, 20% more apexes, and 15% more chili peppers. Also, the cost of hypergolic fuels have been greatly reduced. Gabagool distillates are now gonna be 2 times more likely to drop compared to the others from Blaze Slayer. The Inferno minion is now 9% faster. I expected that they would make the daggers cheaper, but they've only buffed the Wisp pet. They've added extra base damage to the pet. They upgraded the Ice Hammer to provide healing over time after breaking a pillar. Each upgrade recipe is now much cheaper because they've reduced the number of apexes and vertexes required. The Crimson Isles now requires combat 22, because of which all of the Crimson Isles items like Crimson Armor now require combat 22. Also, they've nerfed the HP of most of the mobs in the Crimson Isles. They fixed dying with the crystal during the Maxor fight soft locking your party. Jungle Temple chests now spawn loot per player, meaning one person's loot will not be same as another in the same lobby. They fixed Jacobus not properly listing the accessory bag slots from the redstone miner. This is literally the worst update I've ever seen. They want to make item abilities transferable. Now, the way this will be done may be changed, but on the alpha server you can actually transfer item abilities. Now, some abilities cannot be transferred as they are now classified as passives, but there are still multiple reasons why this is bad. Firstly, you can now make absolutely OP weapons like the Reaving Strike Claymore, the Ragnarok Flower of Truth, the Rapid Fire Terminator, the Throw Dark Claymore. Also, they are planning on making weapons have the same amount of intelligence scaling. If you didn't already know, most mage weapons have an ability scaling system that determines how much damage will get buffed by intelligence. Next, we've got another unbalanced update. Whoa. They made the Flower of Truth and Bouquet of Lies deal damage to ghosts, and people started making clips like these where they are breezing through ghosts. But thankfully it's been fixed now, and the 2 weapons no longer work on ghosts.
Bonemerangs have finally been fixed. Your damage no longer gets destroyed if you swap bones, but it no longer does 4x damage when returning.
We have new Essence shops. Also, almost all the Essence shops now buff certain class XP gain. The Diamond Essence shop can be found in the Crystal hellcastle nucleus. Basically, you can upgrade your tank XP gain, get extra chance of spawning a diamond fish, get more strength, get extra drops from the nucleus, get a higher chance to spawn the new diamond goblins. And there's also this OP upgrade that allows you to break topaz using a piconimbus. There's also a new diamond goblin that sometimes spawns in place of golden goblins. They drop diamond essence, mithril powder, and gemstone powder. They also drop an item, the mithril gem, that can be used to upgrade the mithril golem pet to mythic. You can also get diamond essence from treasure chests. The gold essence shop can be found in the dwarven mines here. And you can upgrade your healer XP gain, chance of spawning a skatha, get more mining wisdom, more vitality, more mining speed, and get a higher chance to drop golden trophy fishes. Also, you can no longer salvage diamond and golden heads. You can now get the alchemist's items once per profile, meaning Iron Man players who had lost their older profiles can still get them. You can no longer reset your Sky Mall perk by resetting your Heart of the Mountain. There's a new spooky event at the moment where you can gain multiple really cool drops, like a new pet and a bunch more. The wheat minion in the hub can no longer be upgraded, but you can now get a superior dragon if you recombobulate at least 7 summoning eyes. This week we had a new spooky event with arguably one of the coolest features. You can fight your fears. Now they have a 10% chance to spawn from any mob killed. Now once you spawn your fear, you can farm them by, well, signing a document,
stopping M,
doing math,
following orders,
and talking. Now once you farm them, you get dark candies that can either be sold on the bazaar or given to Fargal for items like the scare fragment that can be used to craft the intimidation relic, the expired pumpkin that can be given to Caroline for extra farming fortune for pumpkins, the black woolen yarn that can be used to upgrade the black cat to mythic. On the 2nd of November, the Hypixel upstream provider was literally dying, so they had to cap the number of players that could join, and it was fixed. But then they discovered more issues. Thank you, McDonald's. Also, co-op is much better now. Like the co-op management menu actually works again. Also, the co-op clear command has been fixed. Crimson armor has been massively nerfed. The admins were trying to fix the bug where Crimson gave duplicate kill rewards, but it ended up destroying Crimson's main ability that allowed you to do a swipe hit, dealing a bunch of damage. And now it literally doesn't work with mage or with melee. Hypixel has released the garden pests update with this sweet patch note. Now you have a chance to spawn pests when farming that take away your farming fortune. Basically, you spawn one of these pests randomly depending on your pest spawn chance. Then once you've spawned them, you vacuum them with your vacuum and give them to the random guy who showed up at your house. Now you can also add peats to spawn different types of pests. But yeah, pests are really good for early game. They drop items worth a decent amount of money, and you can also gain a bunch of farming fortune without any good gear. All you need to do is add a bunch of pests to your Skymart vacuum and then use it to gain a bunch of farming fortune during a farming contest. There are also some new items like the Anita's accessories, new reforged stones, new upgrades, and upgraded versions for vacuum cleaners that can be bought from the Skymart. There are multiple new items that can be used as baits, including stereos, vinyls, and other bait items. There's also the wriggling larva that gives a bunch of pest spawn chance. They also added the garden sack, and you can also get new talismans for collecting pests. Also, to get gold, you need to be in the top 10%, not the top 5% now. Also, if you want better drops from your pest, you need more farming fortune. But if you don't want pests, you can always use repellents to reduce their spawn rate. There's a new mythic visitor called Maive who gives you a new potion that gives farming fortune. The island browser and museum were disabled.
But why?
Well, there was a wipe for some reason in an API endpoint update. On the Jerry Island, we've got a new NPC that gives you rewards based on how many people you've given gifts to. Now, this NPC gives a bunch of stuff, including 40 North Stars that can be used to buy stuff, 360 Frozen Bait, which is a better version of the Ice Bait, 8 Gifts of Learning, which is a new way to level up foraging. Also, grinding the Jerry Volcano event gives you the Volcanic Rock. that can be used to buy the new seemingly OP ultimate enchant, Refrigerate, that gives you up to 1000 defense for 10 seconds. And finally, the top hat that allows you to upgrade your snowman to mythic. Most of the coming soon updates like the super catching egg have been removed, and they now give skill XP instead. A bunch of accessories are now soulbound instead of co-op soulbound, so you can't tell your low-paying friend to complete Tiny Dancer for you. Also, furnaces no longer burn non-vanilla items. There's a new secret bingo event. Basically, you won't know what the next bingo challenge is gonna be until a fixed time passes. You can now sort potions in the active effects menu. They also added a filter option to the toggle potion effects menu. Also, the matriarch's perfume now resets every day instead of every 24 hours. They added worm bait that allows you to only fish up worms. Now, unlike before where you had to place those blocks to make them work, you can now access the menu through Jerry or by using the /island properties command. This allows you to manually control things like biome, sound, mob spawns, and day and night. Next, we've got the pet leveling update, where you can give your pets to this NPC to level them up. You can also use owl pets and coins to increase the level up speed. Now there are 6 modes, from free to turbo. You can also gain up to 40k pet XP daily for free with taming 60. You can no longer bypass the dungeon speed cap by using rancher boots and a black cat. There is also a way to search museum items now. You can also apply the mithril infusion to minions directly without picking them up. They also fixed inactive co-op members not being kickable. And you can use /hub as a spectator now. The total number of kills required to max a bunch of mobs in the bestiary has been heavily reduced. And there's also the fact that an admin Heatran was caught insider trading. Basically, before the update came out, he had bought a bunch of pets like epic slugs, which he then sold for profit. You know this guy, right? Well, he got terminated. Yeah, I know it was a low effort video. First of all, this one, I much more money.